Mixing up in the day's other headlines. So here we go. New sanctions against Iran. The fallout from Blanche Lincoln's victory in Arkansas, narrow though it may have been. We start, though, with the United Nations, the Security Council approval of a fourth round of sanctions against Iran in the last 4 years. That's the time frame, obviously, for the overall sanctioning, if you will, trying to prevent the development of their nuclear program. The sanctions ban Iran from nuclear investment abroad, and it blocks other countries from selling Iran heavy weapons like tanks and missile systems. It also freezes the assets of some Iranian companies, including 15 with links to the Revolutionary Guard.
And it sends an unmistakable message about the international community's commitment to stopping the spread of nuclear weapons.
Now, Iran insists it'll continue enriching uranium. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad saying that the UN resolution should be, quote, thrown in the waste bin like a used handkerchief. The U.S. and other Western nations had wanted tougher sanctions, but they were watered down under pressure from both China and Russia, both of whom do a lot of business with Iran. Remember, Iran is also one of the primary portals where heroin is traded to Russia from Afghanistan. So there's a lot of action in Iran, if you will. Here to mix it up, as you can see, writer for the Washington Post, editorial writer for the Washington Post, Jonathan Capehart, and friend of the program, also editorial page editor for the Washington Examiner, and a friend as well, Mark Tapscott. Nice to see you both.
Hey, Dylan.
Jonathan, kick us off here. How much of this is actual politics with Iran, and how much of it really doesn't mean that much until we do get China and Russia on board?
Well, actually, I'm wondering how much it will mean when Iran, which has shown a facility for violating all sorts of sanctions, when they violate these new sanctions. In her speech, Ambassador Rice said, Susan Rice said that, she quoted the president saying, words should mean something, that these sanctions should mean something, that if Iran continues to violate these sanctions, then it must be held accountable. And that's where it's a great political feat that the United States was able to get these new sanctions, no matter how watered down they are. But the rubber will meet the road when the United States and the international community has to take concrete action against Iran and its nuclear program.
Mark, what do you say?
Well, I'll tell you, Dylan, I've got an idea for us here.
Go for it.
Let's you and Jonathan and me, and maybe we can get Rachel Maddow in on it too. Let's announce our sanctions against Iran. We stand just as good a chance of making them stick as the United Nations does.
So at the end, so you're saying this is nothing more than politics because, to Jonathan's point, there's a lack of enforceability, there's a lack of accountability, et cetera, in a nutshell?
Words don't make it.
Yeah.
Actions count, and there's no action behind it.
And is there any leverage that this country has with either Russia or China if we wanted to really try and deal with Iran that anybody can see? Or is the reason, or it's not there, and that's why we end up with these sillinesses?
I'm not sure that if we have it, we know what to do with it. If we knew, we would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on to the election from yesterday. Senator Blanche Lincoln lives to campaign another day, bucking the anti-incumbent tied to defeat Bill Halter in the Arkansas Democratic primary. Lincoln's win, of course, exposing a sharp rift between the Obama administration and certainly big labor, if not a wide variety of progressives who spent millions trying to beat her as representative of status quo center-lefty politics, if you will. A White House official telling Politico, quote, organized labor just flushed $10 million of their members' money down the toilet. That comment outraging many on the left, with liberal blogger Jane Hampshire telling the White House, quote, labor is not your bitch. The SEIU has not said if it will support Lincoln against Republican John Boozman come November. Mr. Capehart, if you were to take something not only out of the Lincoln race, although we'll start there, but something out of yesterday as a reader of the tea leaves, put on your Karnak hat, your grand interpretation, what did we learn from the elections yesterday?
Not just the Blanche Lincoln election, but all of them?
We'll start with Blanche, and we'll talk a couple more.
Well, I think in that particular election, what we saw was a battle between a White House that wanted to get a health care bill passed and wants to ultimately retain that seat in the Democrats' column versus organized labor that was very, very angry with Blanche Lincoln and other blue dogs and centrist Democrats for the votes she's cast. And look, they're doctrinaire almost in this. They don't care whether she's a Democrat and would keep that seat in the Democratic column. They want to teach her a lesson, and that's a lesson that the White House in particular doesn't want Blanche Lincoln to be the poster child for. Now, with regard to all of these elections, I'm having a bit of a problem using yesterday's election to be a bellwether of anything. I think, this election, the previous special elections and primaries that we've gone through, each one has been heralded as, the message-sending moment.
Right.
This one being one as well. And the real message-sending moment will be November 2010, when the American people finally have a chance to say Democrat versus Republican, how they want the country to go and where they want Congress to go.
Mark, quick and dirty, you get the last word.
Two observations. The loser is Blanche Lincoln because she gets the right to lose to John Boozman in November. Number two, let's ask Arlen Specter and Alan Mollahan and possibly Blanche Lincoln if it's an anti-incumbent year.
We'll pick this up for days to come, gentlemen, I have no doubt. Pleasure to have the conversation. Nice to see both of you.